So to preface, before we even get into this, don't be the fun police anybody. We understand it's only been 2 games into the season. So this is
It's just knee-jerk reactions.
yeah,
Yeah,
this
you
is
just have to have them. You just have to
yeah,
have.
this is small reactions. And even though things may look completely different in a couple of months from now, there are still a couple of things to discuss from initial thoughts that we have following some questions we had preseason. So, Remus, we watched a couple games so far. I know we were talking about Steph, Kyrie, and things like that. So just give me your overall thoughts from the first 2 games.
Yeah, everybody in New Jersey watched, Warriors versus Brooklyn, and then everybody watched Christmas Day. So you don't want to just make your whole assessment on the season in 2 games, but you just got to talk about it. But here's what the Warriors did. In 2 games, they lost by 65 points. That's a huge margin. And Steph Curry averaged 19 and a half points on 34% field goal percentage. And Steph Curry is who some are dubbing maybe the best point guard ever. What are your thoughts? I mean, that's a lot.
Well, all right. So I am on record. I think Steph Curry is the greatest point guard of all time. There's a big problem with them defensively. I think that we should expect that having them minus Clay, obviously for the season, minus Draymond, hopefully until Sunday. And then also, I think Steve Kerr has a decision to make. I'm watching them on offense. They're still doing a lot of like that classic Warrior style motion offense, but you need guys to knock down shots. And not only is Steph struggling, nobody else is even at struggling level. It's putrid. The rest of the shooting around them. I think the craziest stat I saw was Kelly Oubre's 0 for 19 on non-dunks through the first 2 games. It's so like when you have stats like that from guys who were brought in, Kelly Oubre was specifically brought in to add some shot creation to try to make up for what they lost with Clay. Not that he would fully make up for that, but he surely has to do better than that. And then also assist wise, Steph Curry leads the team with 16 through the first 2 games. The next highest player is 5. So I think we will see James Wiseman as the year goes on. He's averaging about mid 20s for minutes right now. I think it's going to end up being 30 plus minutes per night if they're going to be successful. And it's been small so far as far as sample size, but I think Steve Kerr may need to look at changing towards more pick and roll, more of that classic. Have James Wiseman set the high ball screen. He's shown ability as a popper so far, 4 for 5 from 3 on the season so far. Again, small sample size, but if he's a willing shooter, that'll open up the floor just that much more. And like as far as like moving the ball and trying to replicate what they had, I don't know if that works with this roster.
Yeah, I mean, we got to see what this roster looks like when Draymond Green comes back. Obviously, he's going to change their defense. He's going to obviously contribute a lot to the ball movement just by having him on the floor. But it's interesting because we talk about what everybody else has to do, but we still got to talk about what Steph has to do.
Yeah.
Because I saw somebody say that yes, we understand that Steph changed the game. Steph has been transcendent, but a lot of things have gone perfectly for him for a 5-year span. So for a 5-year span, everything's like come together. He's like been healthy. Everyone around him has been healthy. The right people have come into the town. The right people have bought in. Steve Kerr did a great job putting those pieces together. But now you have, and you don't want to go into full panic mode, but the numbers are staggering. And we can say that everybody else hasn't been doing what they're supposed to do, but we say that Chris Paul or Westbrook or whoever they got to elevate their teammates. And has Steph been doing that through 2 games? And again, knee-jerk reaction, through 2 games, he hasn't. You have Kelly Oubre, who's coming off a career year averaging about 18, 19 points a game. Wiggins has been a 20-point per game scorer. And Wiseman has shown to be a candidate for Rookie of the Year. So he does have enough around him to make the playoffs. Like, we can't just – if Steph and the Warriors don't make the playoffs, we need to have some conversations. It just has to happen.
That I agree. As a admitted Steph apologist, they do need to make the playoffs this year. If everybody stays healthy, there is a couple of teams that are going to be fighting for 6 through 8. Like, I don't believe that they should lose out on a playoff spot and Memphis makes it. I don't believe they should lose out on a playoff spot and the Pelicans make it. Like, I think that if Steph is who we believe him to be all time, that they should certainly make it. Now, obviously, we have to allow for rust. He didn't play much last year. A lot of his game relies on feel. Also, it's very weird on offense, like right now, like I said, because he's running around off of those screens. And I'll try to find some video clips to include in the YouTube portion of this. But he's running around on screens, and passes that are usually coming to him when he flares to the corner or he flares at it, they're just not coming. Wiggins and Oubre are not throwing those passes. They're trying to get to their offense, and that's got to throw his rhythm off as well. So if anything, Steph might be a little bit of a system guy at this point. Now, if he's truly great, him and Steve Kerr will be able to figure it out as the season goes along, what they're going to do, because, again, they lost Clay. So when you lose Clay, everything you were doing goes out the window, and you got to try and figure out something else. And I feel like they're still in that process right now. But we do agree that if the Warriors are, if Steph is who we say he is, the Warriors have to make the plus. Absolutely. Like, what is the minimum seed for them?
He has to make it. I don't care if it's the 8th seed. Because so let's peep this. Like, so two guys that have got a lot of criticism by different people, multiple people, sometimes the same people, sometimes different people, are Westbrook and Chris Paul. And an easy way to see what they have done is Westbrook's 2017 MVP season. His two best teammates were Enes Kanter, who averaged a career high, maybe like 15 points a game, and then Vic Oladipo, who after he left OKC made the All-Star game, but he was only averaging 16. So Westbrook was able to be so great individually that they were able to make the playoffs. Now, Chris Paul kind of went a different direction. He enhanced all the people around him. So you got like Dennis Schroeder, Gallinari, and the young guys getting elevated. We got to see Steph Curry if he's able to do that. If we really want to say that, Steph is who he is, because otherwise, we're just not consistent with what we're saying amongst his peers. So we have to be, especially because he's a two-time MVP.
Yeah.
Two-time MVP. He was unanimous MVP. And a lot of people have him as the top 5 greatest. He probably is one of the top 5 greatest. But, nobody says that, like, Bill Walton is, like, the greatest center, even though he had, like, a short run. Like, Steph Curry's run has been, like, a 5-year run. And some of the convenient things that happened for him is things like Klay Thompson coming to town. When Steph really took that big jump from being like like he was like pretty good, but like we had Tyreek Evans, Brandon Jennings, like in the same class or better than him. And then Klay comes along and they both elevate together and they make that climb. And then KD comes to town, Draymond Green comes into his own, Steve Kerr comes to town, Iguodala makes sacrifices, David Lee makes sacrifices. And it's just something that we have to see. We got to see, Steph through adversity too.